The Lambeau Leap with Aidan Huntchinson. Was something I was expecting to see last night. Thanks to Peacock for the audio. If you haven't seen that, it's a pretty cool moment for the Detroit Lions and former Michigan Wolverine, the second overall pick, Aidan Huntchinson. After the game, when he was being interviewed there, they said, they want you to do the Lambeau Leap. Hutchinson was like, no. And he's like, all right. And he did it. Did the Lambeau Leap there in Green Bay. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet rookie season for Aidan Huntchinson. And he did cap it off last night. We had 4 tackles, 2 sacks of Aaron Rodgers. One of them, I'll guess that out of all the sacks that he had this year, the one, it's a great photo. That'll find his way in one of the Hutchinson's walls there in rookie season, maybe the last one, where he ends up getting 9.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and being 2-0 against the Green Bay Packers. Somebody was like, the Green Bay Packers are like the Ohio State Buckeyes. And for Detroit Lion fans, it's true, man. The Packers and the Buckeyes have a lot of similarities, with Aaron Rodgers and, before him, Brett Favre, and all of the years and the success that the Packers, especially at Lambeau, have had over the Detroit Lions to have the Michigan man, Aidan Huntchinson, out there doing what he did. And, I liked this note as well. I didn't realize this till today, but Aidan Huntchinson played more snaps than any defensive lineman in the NFL this year, except former Eastern Michigan Eagle Max Crosby. Hutchinson, number 2 on that list. So that's not too shabby as a rookie. And then all time as a rookie, Aidan Huntchinson played more defensive line snaps as a rookie than any other defensive lineman in NFL history, except one, DeForest Buckner. Nice rookie season for Aidan Huntchinson. I might get to the Lions a little bit later as we sit here, because we got lots to talk about. I want to welcome everybody in on this Monday to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. We're here weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan sports. And today, I could probably sit here for 6 hours and talk about everything that's going on with Michigan. And that's good, because I am planning on being here for a while. I say, why is that? Well, we've got the Harbaugh saga to cover. We will. Luke Schoomaker, Michigan tight end, has made it official. And we have Blake Corum at the top of the hour is going to reveal his decision. Going to reveal his decision on whether or not he's coming back to Michigan for his senior year, or if he will forego his senior year and enter the NFL draft. He's expected to make that announcement on the Rich Eisen show coming up at the top of the hour. I'm staying around here until I find out what Blake Corum is going to do. And yeah, that could be a long time, because they say it's at 2 o'clock, but having worked in radio and knowing how that works, getting everybody in, you're there at 2, but just like when they say the game starts at 1, a lot of times it starts at 105 or 107 or 110 or 112. You milk it a little bit, get that audience. I don't know what exactly Rich Eisen has planned there, Blake Corum, but I am going to stay around here until Corum reveals his decision. And all along, I thought that Blake Corum would be headed to the pros all along, but I don't know. I can remember back in the early 90s, Michigan had a running back by the name of Tyrone Wheatley. And Tyrone Wheatley was a good one. And Tyrone Wheatley did enough where the draft experts said, this guy's a first-round pick. Not only is he a first round pick, but he's a bona fide top 10, maybe top 5 pick in the NFL draft. So even back then, it was more like hardship, but guys were going. If you knew you were going to be a top pick, guys were going to go to the pros, even back then. And then Wheatley held a press conference. And I can remember a lot of people talking about it. Like, if you hold a press conference, you're not telling everybody you're coming back. You don't need to hold a press conference. You just go, just whatever. But Wheatley surprised everybody and said that he was coming back for his senior year at Michigan. And things worked out great for Tyrone Wheatley. He ended up going in the top 10 to the Raiders. And, he enjoyed a nice long NFL career. And, I don't know, I say made all the money that he possibly could. I don't know. He made a lot of money. It worked out really well for him. Things are different now. You can stay around and, you can already make a lot of money. So if those who stay will be compensated. And so there's a chance that you could see number 2 back with the Maize and Blue. And that'd be something. I'm not holding my breath. Blake Corum has already had a great Michigan career. And Blake Corum looks like, he is the ultimate class guy on the field and off the field, delivering turkeys. So does remember the name, image, and likeness, like, oh, these greedy athletes, I don't know if this is going to ruin sports. These kids, now that they're going to have all this money in their pocket and chains and cars and everything. It was kind of that talk, a little bit of that. And the first thing, you saw from Blake Corum was he got his money and he took some of it and he went down to Ipsy and he was giving out turkeys. And he did it again this year. Even on a bad leg, he was out there. I'm over there watching, like, is he holding the turkey with the hand that would, compensate anything in his right leg? This guy, then you see him, you see him with young kids before the game. I mean, you just see him out there. You hear him talk. And you're like, everything that guy says is spot on. And if Blake Corum, man, I'm ready to vote. If Blake Corum says he's coming back, I already, Blake Corum's a class guy, root for him wherever he goes, anything like that. This guy comes back, it's always be too good to be true. That's how good he is. We'll kind of have a little celebration of Blake Corum this afternoon, running up to his decision. We'll see what happens there. Of course, you can always weigh in and get your thoughts in. You can say, wow, you sit around for an hour? Most of these podcasts, see, you guys talk about 5-10 minutes. How can you possibly sit around for an hour? That is it's a good question. I utilize the people, the fine folks that weigh in real time. We do it. Excuse me. I scratch my nose. Like Jason, who has jumped in and is wishing good afternoon to everyone. He's hoping everyone's doing well. And he's also hoping this message finds you and yours living healthy. How about that? Now that's a nice thought to get everything going. And I have some questions that you can respond to get in and get your thoughts in on what's going on with Michigan. And again, we start with Blake Corum. Corum has that decision coming up at the top of the hour, set to announce his decision for 2023. And this really plays into what we're going to get to with Jim Harbaugh. Whatever you want to call that, a mess or something. I think that's appropriate, call it a mess. But, however you feel, if Blake Corum somehow says he's coming back for his senior season, it would make me think that Jim Harbaugh was going to come back as well. I don't know if these things are tied together or not. We'll go through all of the ramifications with Blake Corum. We'll also look back at his career, and we'll talk about what is going on with him. Now, before I get to Jim Harbaugh, and I tried to promise myself that I wasn't going to get stay too long talking about Harbaugh, or maybe I'm just not going to get too bent out of shape, or or talk about him too glowingly. Whatever, we're going to find out how my best laid plans with what I'm going to say about Jim Harbaugh happens in just a minute. I want to tell you that you want to know what's going on with Blake Corum before everyone else. You want to know what's going on with the recruits. Jaden Davis update, the quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Right before I came on, I looked at the Maize and Blue review, and there was two threads about Jaden Davis, and somebody had, I don't know if I just saw the updates, and there was a bunch of people looking at it. One of the national rivals guys, I don't know if they talked to him, talked to his coach, got a timeline, whatever it is, it's there on the Maize and Blue review. And you want to know what's going on with guys like Jaden Davis, Jim Harbaugh, Blake Corum. You want to be in tune with all of that. Well, here in 2023, the way to do it is join the Maize and Blue review. To go to michigan.rivals.com. That's how you get it done. And it's a lot of fun. If you like discussing Michigan on the posting board, that is happening day and night. Sometimes, you get up on a Sunday morning and you're thinking, I'm just going to watch the NFL. This is what happened yesterday. I'm just going to sit around watching the NFL. Got up like 7 o'clock in the morning, but I did. I checked out the Maize and Blue review just to see what was shaking. And then the big story, Harbaugh is going to interview with the Broncos. Hey, come on. I mean, that's what and I can't shoot them. I couldn't shoot Trevor McHugh for writing that story. I mean, he's just reporting what he saw and what was going on there. But it's it looks like it's true with Jim Harbaugh, and that's where we get to right now, talking about the latest with Jim Harbaugh. And there's a part of it when it comes to Jim Harbaugh. And he's got this the saga that has continued, and that he may interview with the Broncos, may do it by Zoom. Maybe this has changed here in the last minute or two. I put a couple other teams. There might be more. Today is Pink Slip Monday, Black Monday, where the Colts, the Panthers, the Rams, maybe the Panthers. I'm expecting these teams to have a vacancy. The Texans did make it official, I saw this morning, and parted ways with Lovie Smith as the Texans. They probably got rid of him because they won that game yesterday. That was an exciting game when they took down the Colts. Speaking of exciting, it was exciting to watch the Rams and actually root for the Detroit Rams. I know a lot of people were used to that with rooting for Matt Stafford last year in their Super Bowl run, but then it was taking on Seattle, hoping that the Rams were going to pull the upset. And man, a lot of that looked like they were going to. Even a missed field goal at the end and everything else going in overtime didn't happen. But a lot of vacancies out there when it comes down to Jim Harbaugh. Now, there's a part about this that's ridiculous. And you could say, you're ridiculous. And I can say, no, he's ridiculous. And I can say, this whole thing's ridiculous. And I think all of that is true. I think all of it can be true. And you can sit there as a Michigan fan and say, it's fine. As long as Jim Harbaugh comes back, it's going to be fine. Just look away, or however you deal with it. And others, you don't even have to be paying that close of attention. Are you saying, look, I thought he said he's coming back. And as soon as he says he's coming back, now he looks like he's, going to interview for jobs. I mean, does he want to come? Does he want to be here? Does he not want to be here? Is he a Michigan man or is he not a Michigan man? Does he just really want an NFL job and then Michigan's the fallback? Is he doing this for leverage with a new contract? Why would he need a low buyout if he wanted to stay here at Michigan? Wouldn't a low buyout, if that was a sticking point on a contract with Michigan, wouldn't having a low buyout automatically mean to like all of the Michigan's opponents, like, see, this guy's gone? I mean, they did it last year when he was like, if the Vikings would have had him, he would have been gone. As soon as he gets an offer, he gone. Everybody say, well, you got to just, he said that was just a one-time deal. Well, Did he did lie about that. If you're an opposing coach, believe me, they're going to be hammered on. You can't trust anything that Jim Harbaugh says. He just said last year this was a one-time deal. And now here he is talking with the Panthers owner. Here he is set to interview with the Broncos. I mean, you're really going to take this guy's word on something? So, and what can I say about that? It's negotiations. He's just playing the game. So that's the tough part. Meanwhile, I don't really know if last year recruiting class was affected by Jim Harbaugh doing what he did with the Vikings. I know everybody, it's a theory, and it could be part of it. I happen to think, if you ask me, why Michigan didn't, with, all the success they have on the field, why they weren't able to parlay that into great recruiting success, I would say that 95% of it had to do with name, image, and likeness and being able to pay players signing bonuses up front. And that other 5% could be about Jim Harbaugh's wandering eye. I don't know, maybe there's something else that is involved in there as well, but I don't know what else, because they have everything else. Maybe the weather, what are you going to do about that? But the success on the field, it's no question that it's there. Now, that used to be something that, pipeline to the NFL, all of those things. Now, Michigan, the last 2 years, they've been able to say, look, we're doing all that. It's about name, image, and likeness, and it's about, the wandering eye. And I'm not even 100% sure, about the 5%. But now, if it's happening again and there's a low buyout, what are the opposing coaches going to do? They're going to look and say, well, look at it. He's gone. He didn't even want to be there as soon as he gets an NFL offer. So that's part of it. So here I am. On one side, it all looks ridiculous, and it looks like it's hurting Michigan. It looks like Harbaugh's putting himself in front of the program. It looks like Ward's doing the same thing, Ward Manuel. And, they're doing nothing but hurting themselves by not getting this done, by not negotiating it and making it happen. That's one side. The other side is like, look, it's fine. It's just the real diehard fans that are getting their panties in a bunch, whatever, hand wringing, all this. It's just people that follow this every day. It'll be fine. And if you get Jim Harbaugh back, then, that's going to be the big thing, and you can just move on and look at the team that they have coming back. All of this will be, water under the bridge. So, and I look at it, there's a part of me that's like, listens to people that just say, look, it's just negotiations. They're, they're hammering out this buyout, and, a couple, as much as, it looks like Harbaugh has all of the leverage, and from the Michigan side, they do want to feel like they can come away with a win. Can you get a win-win here? And then, it happens. And if it happens this week, everybody will be back. Then we can worry. And then you can just enjoy the off season or whatever, but the part about me, I get that. And then the other part, it's like, this guy doesn't want to be here. He wants to go to the NFL. And, that doesn't make you feel good. Hey, you want to be with Michigan? Feel like I'm at least going to temporarily take Jim Harbaugh's Michigan man card away from him. Now, he can have it back if he comes back. But the way things look, that's my move. I'm taking Jim Harbaugh's Michigan man card away from him temporarily. He can have it back. But at this point right now, he is not operating like a Michigan man. He's not doing any of that, but we'll see. He could have it back anytime. But the longer that it, we're going to get to Thursday or Friday, and he's not going to have that Michigan card, and he's going to be interviewing for NFL jobs, there it is. So we'll see about that. So that's where I'm at with Harbaugh today, January the 9th. And so let's see where the people are at. Brad G. If that was the case, wouldn't he wait until after Harbaugh interviews? Yeah, well, the deadline is a week from today for underclassmen to declare. So what's that? I've got a calendar here. The 16th. The Harbaugh saga could continue to after that. And look, Harbaugh could tell his players, and he could tell his other coaches. He has to say one thing, even if it looks like, and here's the part about this. We've seen it before from coaches, and I think you now have to put, I at least do, you can do whatever you want. I am putting Harbaugh into this category. I have seen it so many times with other coaches. They're telling all of their assistants, this is just contract negotiation. I want to be at Michigan. Hey, who are we talking with? Oh, when he's talking to recruits, they're talking with their parents. Is that nope? Nothing to see here. Everything's fine. I'm just doing this to get the contract going. Blake Corum calls him up. Look, yeah, great. Make your decision. We're coming back. Can't wait. We'll run it back, Blake. Meanwhile, he's on the other end. The Broncos? Can I get an interview with the Texans? That's what you got to do when you're looking for that job. And, whether or not that's what he's doing, that's what it looks like. And since last year, he is already, you call him a liar, but you call him like this part about his word, like that was just a one-time deal. And you could tell Ward that was just a one-time deal, and I'll be in now this all enthusiastically, and then you got to talk in like whatever it is, the riddles or no one knows the future. I am definitely, in addition to taking his Michigan man card away, putting him into the category of you can't believe he's either going to sign the deal or he's not. But I'm not going on what Jim Harbaugh is saying to his coaches or his recruits or his current players, because that's the way he has to play the game. And with him just signing underneath those who stay will be champs on Twitter on Thursday, there was no more clear message to me that he was coming back, even with a riddle contained with the no man knows the future thing to kind of, and then, now he's going to be interviewing for a job? Come on. Look, and again, you could just be like, hey, it's fine. And I'm just like, I'm taking the card away, and I'm not believing things that he says to people. I'm sorry, Jim. I can't believe what you say right now. I'll believe it when I see it. I hope he comes back. I hope he gets the deal that he wants. I hope he knows that a smaller buyout is going to work against him when it comes to negative recruiting. But how do I even know anything about it? I mean, he went out there and caught a level 1 violation last week. We found out about it. I had somebody telling me this week, like, Harbaugh probably did this on purpose. Went out there and paid for a lunch, knowing that the NCAA was going to come sniffing around, and then he was going to lie about it and catch a level 1 just so he could admonish them and tell everybody just how crazy the NCAA is doing. I was like, that's what you believe, that he caught the level 1 violation on purpose so that he could demonstrate just, how crazy the NCAA is? I mean, look, that seems pretty wild. But it's not like the person that was suggesting it was like some, wild conspiracy theory or some person. He was just saying, that's Jim Harbaugh. They started asking me questions like, he's fed up with that pay for play, name, image, and likeness. That he knows the rules about even spending, $5 on, a spaghetti dinner or something for somebody. He knows that. I mean, I know that. I know that you can't go in before the name, image, and likeness and, I got it. Really? You got it? This is the way it's been going on for 100 years. And now, you're pulling out the billfold or put it on my card. I got these guys. You can't do that. That's the way you catch a violation. And then what? However else that worked, we've been through that. So that was just one of the messages so far that we got through. Brad, I don't know. Let's get Michael up here. Michael says, I think Blake is staying. I don't think he would plan this decision if he was headed to the NFL. Michael, I'm in the category of I hope you're right. Like, I like Blake Corum no matter what. That guy's a class act. He's a great football player. He can do whatever he wants. If he comes back to Michigan, I'll throw a party. Here's the one part about it. If Blake Corum didn't get hurt against Illinois, we'd be talking about Michigan playing in the national championship tonight. I believe that all day long. I believe it. Blake Corum wouldn't have fumbled at the one. I don't think Harbaugh would have been going with any Philly cheesesteak special. Yeah, at the beginning, he'd have been giving it to Blake Corum. It's like the Lions last night. This looks like it's going right to Jamal Williams, right up the middle at the end of the game. Should they have gone to some Lions special? Ben Johnson, Dane Campbell, let's throw a couple. No, they ran it right up the middle. Touchdown. Broke Barry Sanders' record. That's what they've been doing all year long. If Blake Corum, we all know this. There's no reason for me to keep repeating that. I think we all agree. We'd be talking about Michigan playing in the national championship if Blake was healthy. And we'd be talking about how he would do it against that Bulldog defense. Number 10. Looks like we got somebody new on the feedback here. The chaplain? Jethro? Beverly Hillbillies reference? I like Beverly Hillbillies, but I don't know what number 10 means. Was number 10 on Michigan? Alex Orgy? You want me to talk about Alex Orgy? I don't get it. Jethro. JP says Blake will come back and Jim will not leave these kids. It's a special group. You could see it and feel it this year. Jim is a man of faith, and these kids are as well. That speaks volumes. So now I got a chaplain, and now I'm going to the man upstairs and talking about faith. I believe. Jason, I believe you are correct in what you say. I hope. I have faith in your feedback. It's old One Scoop John. I think the choice of Rich Eisen's show means he's staying, but could be wrong. Well, you mean because Rich Eisen is the ultimate Michigan man? You mean because Rich Eisen, a couple years ago, Jim Harbaugh, tabbed him as an honorary captain? Do you mean because Rich Eisen has risen to the top of his profession as a sports broadcaster who, at any chance he can get, will give Michigan all of the shine that he possibly can? When he speaks at a banquet, his joke will be about beating Ohio State. One of the great, I was going to say pre-meal speeches ever. Maybe it was whatever, banquet speeches. One of my favorites, certainly. I can see how you're saying that. I can see exactly why you would say that. And sure enough, he could say, Blake, because he is the Michigan man, he's going on the show, and he could still wish him all the best because Rich Eisen, of course, is an NFL guy as well. But I completely understand why you're saying it that way. And let's say this. You'd be happy, and I would be happy, and Michigan fans, Rich Eisen would be very happy if Blake Corum announced that he was coming back for a senior season on the Rich Eisen show. I think that would make Rich Eisen's day. He is a huge Wolverine fan. As things go, you can say he's the biggest Michigan fan. I don't believe that, because I believe that there are Michigan fans and there are Michigan fans. And I believe that he is right there. I don't know if there is a bigger Michigan fan than Rich Eisen, but I think he fits in the category of, however you would say it, a uber Michigan fan through and through. His credentials are in order. When I listen to him talk, I know he went to the school. That helps for sure. For some people, I mean, that's certainly when you're looking at the Michigan man resume, that's the first thing you put there. Michigan grad. Yeah, he's as big as it gets. That's a nice sign. Like if he was going on Albert Breer's podcast, to make the announcement, and be like, hey, hold your nose a little bit. But he is not. See what Rico has to say. Rico, why would the school not make him sign last year with the terms that he has to stay for a set number of years and an astronomical buyout? Good question, Rico. I think Michigan got into a position last year. They beat Ohio State, and everybody was just just ecstatic, And then Harbaugh was like, I want to go look for the NFL. Michigan's like, whatever, you go ahead. There's the part about, and I don't know if this is true, that Michigan people believe this, and it might be exactly true, that Harbaugh had indicated that he was going to have his original contract and he was going to coach through it. And then he was going to look at the NFL, which he honored. And then he did what he did last year. Now, I never believed that myself, even though when the closest people, the most dialed in, plugged in Michigan people, they all said the same thing. Well, this is how it went. That's what Jim Harbaugh did. I believe that 2 years ago, Jim Harbaugh would have left after the pandemic season if the Chicago Bears didn't make the playoffs. The Bears could have then reached out to Jim Harbaugh, and I think he would have left then. Even though his name wasn't right, I think that would have happened. That's just my feeling. I know there's a lot of other people that they get their sources. A lot of them are coming right from Harbaugh and his friends and everything else. But the way that it looked, I think that's how it would have played out. And that goes against what the people that are the most plugged in said. No, Harbaugh was a man of his word. Well, last year, this is just a one-time deal, we can now at least crack that egg where he was just saying that. Because look at him now. Why wouldn't they? Because they wanted him back. And you could say that's the very thing now. And that could be the big holdup right now. Like Michigan's like, look, Jim, we're not going to be doing this every year. Jim has a very good team next year. Jim wants he can't get, he can only get one team, and they didn't want him last year after he went and interviewed. Now he's getting a little bit of love, but he might not get an offer. And then he's going to come back to his second choice, which would be coaching at Michigan. But if he has just this little buyout in his mind, his dream of going to the NFL could be realized again next year. And Michigan's like, no. For a lot of reasons, you want to win a negotiation? Like, I don't know, maybe some of you have been in high-powered, negotiations and things. Like, you got to feel like you did something. I think when you're on the Michigan side, like, hey, we're Michigan. We got to come out of like this a winner. We can't just, hand him a Blake contract. Say, just fill it in whatever you want. Because a lot of that, I felt like, just give him whatever he wants if he wants to come back. But the low buyout part, I don't like because already people are going to go, Harbaugh's a liar. And then look he's coming back with another, he is gone. He gets the big buyout and people are going to like, he can't go anywhere. He's staying there. Harbaugh, I believe, wants to coach in the NFL. He wants an offer, and if he gets that, he's out. That's the way it looks. That's the way he's been operating. And his fallback would be come back to Michigan, which isn't all that bad. People have already indicated. Team looks really good. Hell, Blake Corum could be joining them. Michigan could be running this thing back to the national championship game this time. That would be the expectation for U of M, or what they have. But that small buyout, people are going to be like, oh, he's gone. He gone. So wouldn't be saying that as much if he had a big fat buyout. Andres talking about the decision. Apparently, I talk nonsense in my sleep. But of all the things I said Saturday night, my fiance said the one intelligible thing I said was blank the NCAA. Well, blank them for sure. And they're a joke for sure. But we know they're not going anywhere. And not the rules, but the playing field, you kind of know where it's at. I look at the NCAA like the police. And when I get out on the expressway, I only drive 3 or 4 miles over the speed limit. Really, like I don't need to go 75. It's not that I'm scared, to go 75, but I like driving about 73. I don't stay over in the left lane. I'll stay in the middle lanes. Once in a while, I'll move over. And then I'll see somebody coming from behind me when I'm going we got to kick it up to go 75 or something to pass somebody. I'll see somebody zipping up and I'm like, well, I better get it up to maybe 78, move over. And then I get these people that are blowing past me. They must be going 80, whatever. Cops don't really do anything to those. Cops aren't pulling people over at 78. I know there used to be a thing like, is it 5 you're fine, 6 you're fine, 7 you're fine, 9 you're mine, so 79 or something, even though the speed limit in some spots is 75. My whole point to that is that everybody's breaking the speed limit. And Michigan is driving 70. And yet Harbaugh, the one time apparently, drives 71 miles an hour and he gets pulled over and catches a level 1 because he's telling the cop, you're a joke. Look at all these people driving by. And there's one, 80 miles an hour. I drive 71 and you're writing me a ticket. And then Harbaugh takes the ticket. So you know what I think of your ticket? Here's what I think, NCAA, of your ticket. And then the NCAA is like, here, we're giving you a level 1. And that cop like, oh yeah, we're gonna write you up a little bit more. So I hear you, Andres. Fred is saying, why all the drama? This isn't Michigan State. They should be building steam on the recruiting trail and focusing on next year. But instead, once again, it's what's Jim doing? Fred, I don't know, I can't say it any better than you have said it right there. You have said it. So much so that I'm going to screen grab it. Let me see. Here it is. Michigan should already have a list of coaches because it's absurd and foolish. True. Facts. The Dune Edan agrees that it would be weird if Blake went on Rich's show just to say he was leaving. I got to think he's back. Wow, the optimism for Blake Corum coming back is running through the roof. I'm caught up in it. I have to admit, like if you would have told me before today, and actually the people have asked, hey, what do you think of Blake Corum? 50-50, 50-50. And when things are 50-50, I still thought he's probably going pro. Most guys, when they have the opportunity, they go pro. But what about name, image, and likeness? You give him a little bit of money, heal up a little better. Okay, people working on me on that angle. And that is an angle that this is different. This is not, as they say, your father's, decision. This is not your father's NFL or your father. This is name, image, and likeness. Those who stay can be compensated. And people love Blake Corum. I'd like Blake Corum to get not only 1, 2, give him $3 million to come back. He deserves it all. He deserves a second-round pick, get him a couple million, get Blake Corum a couple million to come back. That doesn't sound all that bad, actually, to me. We sit around and talking about it. Let's just say, I'm just throwing numbers out. I don't know the exact numbers. You might say, that sounds like it's way too much, and you could be exactly right. But let's say Blake Corum can get $3 million to come back, and they have a fund that came out this weekend. I forget exactly what it's called. Those who stay will get compensated. I don't think it's exactly that, but it's like that. Return for another year, and you get a big NIL package. That's a little wordy for it, but whatever it is, it's out there, and people who are paying into that fund. Blake Corum gets some of that fund. I don't know how they divvy it up. Maybe somebody could say, I want this specifically to go to Blake Corum. I don't know. I got a couple bucks laying around. I'll give it to Blake Corum for coming back. Hassler just wants to go Sharon Moore, and let's move on. Well, he's there. It could happen. Let's, keep that in your back pocket. Jim has said he's more than ready. Who's he? Himself or Blake? A little skepticism or pessimism about Jim Harbaugh. Just let him go. Hey, look, there's nobody. You can be the biggest Michigan man in the world, Michigan fan, man, whatever. And if you're coming to me and saying you just had enough, it's completely understandable. You watch Michigan all the time. If you're completely exhausted with this situation, it just means you're paying attention. Now, I'm not meaning to criticize people that are just go with Michigan and everything they say and be like, hey, I'm just holding out because I want the coach to come back. I get that part too. That's the thing with this story. But I'm going to be honest, it hurts your feelings if you're a Michigan fan to have Jim Harbaugh playing you like this. This is not conduct that represents how a Michigan man operates, at least in my Michigan man book. And for the longest time, people had pointed me to, and I even heard Jim Harbaugh, I wish I had the quotes right in front of me, go by what I say and my actions. Well, if we're doing that right now, you're not looking so hot, Jim. So that's where the skepticism comes in. But, this is big. This is big time athletics. He should know himself, Yeah, and there's that level one that's hanging over all this that he could be like, this was just somebody else. His point today is like, Jim is, such an advocate of Michigan and the players and doing the right thing. And that, he gets tripped up for buying a fish sandwich for a couple kids to make a point. And this might push him, just like John Beeline didn't want to deal with it. It's going to push the good guys out. They're pushing Jim out. Is that what's going on here? I don't I get that. You could believe that. I'm having a hard time believing, that, Jim's the real good guy here and everything's, Jim's just operating with Michigan, with the best interest of Michigan and the college athlete and the student athlete. He's keeping them, this is what he's all about. Because it sure doesn't look like it. It looks like Jim's, out for Jim. And look, Jim can be out for Jim. It's a tough spot. It is. Let's see what Dune Edan says. Jim is probably looking over at Ace Lansing, wondering why Mel is getting 95. Now, that said, there's better ways to go about this. Jim Harbaugh, with his now new agent, he never had one before, but apparently he has one now. When it comes down to the money, again, I'm no high-powered lawyer, broker, agent, or anything else. But I believe that Jim Harbaugh is the best coach in the Big Ten. Number one, over Ryan Day, over James Franklin, over Mel Tucker. And I put Jim Harbaugh in the top 5 of all coaches currently in the NCAA. I do think that Nick Saban is number one. Kirby Smart, going to win back-to-back championships tonight. I'll put him number 2. Those guys get about $12 million per year. Lincoln Riley's up there, and so's Dabo Swinney. That's 4. I'm not putting anybody else in front of Jim Harbaugh currently as it is right now. So those guys are getting $12 million a year. That's about what Jim Harbaugh. That's even more than Mel Tucker. That's where it's at. That's the bar. It's not Mel Tucker's. It's Smart. And it's Saban. And it's Swinney. And it's Riley. And Harbaugh should be nestled right in there with those guys. That should be the contract. And the buyout, if I have to tell this agent, the agent's like, we want a small buyout. And it's like, the small buyout's hurting Michigan. And it's hurting Michigan's ability if he comes back. He should know that. Harbaugh wants the big contract and he wants the low buyout just in case, they have a great year and it drives him where he could possibly still go back to the NFL. But I get why that could be a hang up. Like, damn it, Jim, they're using that against you. And for the guy that likes to cover all of his bases and everything when it comes to the Michigan team, he knows that. This is a little selfish by him, in my opinion, having a small buyout. I said it. I believe it. I talked to him in person. I'd have to say, Jim, this is nonsense. This is 3 years in a row that this has gone on. I mean, this has been, and I get it. Like, everybody likes what's going on in the field. But if it wasn't for that, but come on, a lot of nonsense. All right. I said I was only going to spend a couple minutes with that, and I lied. So, can't take... I'll tell you, the next time I say I'm only spending a couple minutes on something, you can say, you know what? We don't believe you. Just like you didn't believe Jim Harbaugh and some of the things he's saying, we don't believe you. Because you said you're only going to spend a couple minutes talking about him, and you talked damn near 40 minutes about him. Agreed. I understand what you're saying. Oh, we're getting close to Blake Corum's announcement, though. The people are coming in. Just more people that's ever watched the live. We're setting records here. Welcome in. Luke Schoomaker. I don't know if anybody's got a bigger arm than Luke Schoomaker. I need to get back and start lifting again. It's looking a little flabby, among other parts. Schoomaker has declared for the draft. I was looking at that. There's a lot of great tight ends. Mayer from Notre Dame, but Luke Schoomaker is going to find a spot in the NFL. He can, wait for it, block, and he can catch. And he runs pretty well. He's got really good hands. So I think he's going to be a superstar in the National Football League. I don't think about superstar. But I think that he's got a spot in the NFL roster. He's got what they're looking for. It's a big year for tight ends. When you take a look at him, I think he's going to get picked in the top 10 of the tight ends, but I think that he'll stay on an NFL roster. I like Luke Schoomaker. He's like an underrated Michigan player over these last couple of years. You think about last year with Eric All, and then Schoomaker. What was it? It was the Indiana game last year. He had 2 touchdowns. It's like, hey, look at this. Schoomaker just jumping up. He didn't really done a whole lot where you'd say, hey, this guy's a big piece of the puzzle. And then he had the game against Indiana. But then they after that, I can remember in the Big Ten championship game last year against Iowa, Cade was peppering him with, targets, and he was catching him out of the sideline. He's like, he's more than just a fill-in. This guy's pretty good. And then when all went down this year, it was one of the an amazing part. I don't want to make it sound like it's one of the big parts. I'll say it's an amazing part. All off season we talk about, boy, Michigan's stacked. Look at their offense. They got 2 quarterbacks. They got 2 stars at running back, 2 stars at tight end. They go 4 deep at wide receiver. Look at the offensive line. I mean, they got depth on the offensive line. They got a swing tackle in Barnhart. You could put him inside. I guess I didn't know that Giovanni El Hadi was going to be the player he was, but they had a lot of depth on offense. Man, they had to use all of it. Schoomaker stepped right into tight end 1 role and was fabulous. Maybe if he doesn't get hurt against TCU, Michigan's playing in the game tonight. Because he got hurt pretty early. There's no need to hang your head. Michigan fans, don't hang your head with the game coming up tonight. Let me ask you all a question with the game coming in tonight, and I'll read some more of your feedback. And I better get on it. We're going to find out what's happening with Blake Corum. We'll talk about it. The Blake Corum celebration show starts in 8 minutes from right now. Let's get back and get you some of those feedback. But let me ask you that question. Tonight, it's a national championship game. Georgia and TCU. Will you watch the game? Going to be hard to watch the game, I think, for a lot of Michigan fans. It could be too soon for you to want to watch TCU. I haven't even been able to fit the loss of TCU. Hey, that's one of the worst losses of all time. That ranks up there with, oh, yeah, it ranks up there because right now it's number 1. And so I got to let some time burn off. That was the Michigan's worst loss. Appy State, because it was the shock from out there, but this one in a different way. And Appalachian State would be up there. I feel like the Iowa game in 2016. These are just some of the Harbaugh, or the Michigan State game in 2015, the snap game. That was up there. A lot of people would say the 2016 double overtime game against, or was triple overtime against Ohio State with JT Barrett. JT was short. People like to look to that one, which is understandable. But the thing about that game is it came right down. That they easily could have called that that he was short. So that one, double overtime, doesn't stick with me quite as much. But the Iowa game, a couple games before, when both the offense, the defense, the offense, and special teams, all in the last 5 minutes, 7 minutes of that game, all had big time plays where if they make one play, big time play, they're going to beat Iowa. They probably end up getting into that college football playoff anyways. All right. I wasn't asking you to rank the TCU loss. We've got time for that in the weeks and months ahead. I'm asking you about the game tonight. Are you going to watch it? DI. So what? He comes back and then we do this again next year. He's going to leave anyway. Andre says Jim definitely wants to be at Michigan. So this is the way it goes. He wants to go. He wants to stay. He wants to go. There's Mark. Mark's a big Michigan fan. Bye-bye, Jimmy, he's saying. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Treppa, I know he's a big Michigan fan. Let's see what he's saying. After the Ohio State game, Michigan fans seemed appreciative but ready to move on from Blake Corum because of what they saw from Donovan Edwards. Now they want him back. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm – look, I think that it played into what I was talking about a little bit with Luke Schoomaker. He stepped up and was a very viable backup. And that's what happened when it came down to Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards is a great back. And it was nice that Michigan was able to, have somebody step in and have 216 yards against Ohio State. Unbelievable. Have 185 yards in the Big Ten championship game, a backup. And funny, with running backs, but I think we can also, now that we're able to look at it, you could make a case that Michigan maybe would not have won down at Ohio State if they had Blake Corum, because the game plan would have been different. Michigan threw the ball a heck of a lot more. I believe they would have beat Ohio State with Blake Corum. I think Blake Corum would have had 150 yards against Ohio State. Remember, Donovan Edwards, really, it wasn't until the second half till he started loosening up a little bit. Then he broke out for those 75 and 85-yard runs. But I believe, and I'll believe forever, that Michigan would have beat TCU if they had Blake Corum. They wouldn't have played no Philly special. They would have blasted it right up the middle 5-6 times if they had that many times to go to Blake Corum. And Michigan would be playing tonight against Georgia if they had Blake Corum. So I don't agree with this, Treppa. Dooney Dunn is not willing or wanting to say goodbye to Jim. No, you don't want to. It hurts. It hurts that he's out there. I'm not playing the, what if you have a girlfriend and what do you guys want to see other? I don't want to go to any of that. It feels a little bit like that, though. You want him to coach at Michigan, and you want him to be fully committed to Michigan. He can get all the money he wants in the world, but he wants to be committed to Michigan. And right now, that's not the way it looks. Donovan is not better than Blake. Well, they're two different backs. Great tandem. Mark is tired of this every year. Brad, listen to people's actions, not their words. I think all very fine advice. We're sitting here at 158. Am I going to be able to? I'm going to say the answer is yes. If, let's see, Rich Eisen show. Let me see here. If I could just dial. I think on this snazzy little computer.
10 popular people search websites that could.
There he is, Rich Eisen. So we'll see if we can take this live. We'll get it close. He's there. Little test on what's happened. A lot of people going to be tuning into the Rich Eisen show. I just want to say that the Rich Eisen show is a great show. It'll be better if things go well here in a couple minutes. Donovan is a nice compliment to Blake. This is something I have thought myself. What would Bo do to Harbaugh if he was still the AD? Different time. Treppa. Bo wouldn't have let it go this far. Would not have let it play out like this. He never puts a true end to the rumor mill. Yeah, he likes it. He likes the attention. He likes being what am I going to say? Even if you really like Jim Harbaugh and you love Jim Harbaugh and you're not even worried about any of this, he likes playing this game. This is a game, and he enjoys it. He enjoys the attention. He, I remember talking to somebody that was close to him last year and said, Jim, and nobody's talking about the championship game, are they? Nobody's talking about the semifinal loss. They're all talking about Jim. And I was like, that's not good. And he's like, no, it's not. Jay says Bo would have shut this down. Exactly. This is some good words of advice from Steve. Too many rumors to believe any of them. Best to just ignore and wait. There you go. How about Michael Ivor? Michael, I haven't read what you had to say yet, but just by the glowing indication of your feedback, I'm going to say you're my favorite feedback of the day. Let's go. You get a sounder for it. Let's do it.
At 877.
No, Rich isn't ready to go yet. Here's what Michael has to say. Michigan man. Ironic Bo invented the myth when Frieder announced before the tourney, Bill graduated from Michigan. Well, I don't think, Michael, that it is a myth of the Michigan man. I think your Michigan man is different from maybe my Michigan man and from Mark's Michigan man and Rich Eisen's Michigan man and Bo's Michigan man. The way that it played out is Bill Frieder had his Michigan team, and he accepted a job at Arizona State. But he said, I'm going to stay around and coach Michigan in the tournament. And Bo was the AD and said, hell, you are. A Michigan man is going to coach for Michigan. So Frieder, when he accepted the Arizona State job, he was not a Michigan man, even if he graduated. He was an Arizona State man. He was not part of the team anymore. Steve Fisher, who was on the staff, he still was working for Michigan. He was a Michigan man. Now, it has grown, like if you're Jim Harbaugh was like looked at as the ultimate Michigan man because he played for Bo, was the quarterback at Michigan, made the guarantee against Ohio State, delivered, went to the pros, and then came back and rescued Michigan from Rodriguez and Hoke and brought them back to national prominence. No, they haven't won the national championship, but they beat Ohio State 2 years in a row, and they are back in the college football playoff. You can have your criticisms of Jim Harbaugh. Certainly right now, there's a lot of them out there. But he's the ultimate Michigan man. But right now, he's had his card suspended. Okay, the Rich Eisen Show. He's bringing on Blake Corum.
It's Rich Eisen.
Hour number 3 of the Rich Eisen
Let's
Show
go, Rich.
is on the air. 8442.
All right, we're going to see what he's going to do. I'm hoping that he's going to have Blake Corum standing by, and he's going to say, hey, Blake, what's it all about? What's it going to be all about? About Michigan.
TVs. You need to get sure you have an amateur.
All right. Yeah, I think he's going to we're going to monitor it. But, it could play out for a couple minutes here. People are excited. There's no doubt about it. What's going on with Blake Corum? And if he's going to stay or if he's going to go. I don't blame Jim Harbaugh for ignoring the idiots at the NCAA. I do. I blame him. And look, if you're going to go 2-3 miles over the speed limit and you're going to get caught, you can't say, well, that guy ran a stop sign a half hour ago, so you got to pay your fine. Don't have road rage. Don't have NCAA rage. And hey, if you get caught blowing off a stop sign, complaining about everybody going 80 on the expressway, go 80 on the expressway. You're no better than anybody else. I don't know. I'm going to stop that analogy. I always told myself I wasn't going to go that one anyways. So the Rich Eisen Show on Sirius XM.
Not only am I mentioning all this because I'm proud of it, but I have a feeling we might have a larger audience than normal right now because we tweeted out earlier today that our next guest was going to be joining us at the top of this hour to make a very momentous decision here on the day the national championships being vied for just up the road at SoFi Stadium from the Rich Eisen studio here in Los Angeles, California. Saw this young man at the Fiesta Bowl. Prior to the game, he was unfortunately on crutches. And I proper to say Michigan might be playing in this game up the road if he was not on crutches and active, as he had a remarkable Heisman Trophy campaign season, 18 touchdowns, over 1,400 rushing yards. He is from the University of Michigan. Blake Corum here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Blake?
Give it up to him, folks.
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm doing well. So how are you feeling right now? Walk me through where you are feeling.
I'm feeling great. Honestly, I just got done doing a little treatment on it, but I'm feeling great. I was actually out in California for 2 weeks doing some rehab out there as well. So still in the crutches, but they're coming off this week, and I'll be back and ready to attack everything.
Okay.
He's going to be ready to attack everything with enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I don't know if I can just play this in its entirety. I just want to thank Rich Eisen and SiriusXM for allowing us to play their audio.
And the safety just called me right at the right moment. Hyperextended it, tore
That
my
sucked,
meniscus.
Blake.
It needed to be repaired, and I had a sprained MCL. So I tried going back in at halftime. Didn't feel right. I tried playing the Ohio State game. Didn't feel right. And that's when they were like, you know what, to go ahead and get it repaired and get ready for the draft or if you come back.
Okay, and so before we get to that moment right there, so you tried to give it a go again.
All right, he's interviewing him. But we're, like I said, I don't know, playing it to the target. I want Rich and in all the different places that have the Rich Eisen show live. I want them, to have the ability to, have that. But we do want to hear the decision from Blake Corum, which is forthcoming right now. We're getting ready to hear what he has to say about whether he's going to stay or if he is going to go. We've got moments away. Is he coming back or is he going? Boy, just, it feels like he's coming back.
So, I gave it my best effort. Wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, but the guys got the job done.
Yes, they sure did. They sure did. And what's it been like for you watching?
Okay. He's milking it. Hey, you got to give it up to Rich Eisen. Rich is like watching the numbers of people that are, normally listening. I don't know how many people are normally listening to the Rich Eisen show at one point, like 10,000 or something. That would be a guess. And then he's looking and he sees that 30,000 are right now captivated. And he notices that via Ann Arbor, he's getting a strong contingent that is listening to the audio of his show. And we are going to be just right in there. Rich, you do a great job, and Blake is awesome as well.
And carry this on for another 58 minutes. So let's get right down to it. Blake Corum, what is your decision for 2023? You have 1 year of eligibility left at Michigan, and you have till January 15th to make your decision to join the NFL draft. What are you deciding to do?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. A lot of nights, I was coming back. A lot of nights I was going to the draft. A lot of prayer. But I'm a Michigan man through and through. I love playing for the University of Michigan. I love going to the big house and just leaving it all on the field. I love the community. I love interacting with everyone. Right. So this was a tough decision. It was a business decision, and I think, I have unfinished business. I didn't like the way I went out in the big house. I don't like people remember me being hurt. And so, I will be coming back for it all next year.
All right. Okay.
Coming back for it all.
Okay. So you are going to return to the University of Michigan in 2023 and play for the Michigan Wolverines. That is what you're doing.
I will be back at the University of Michigan, ready to excel and just do everything that we've been doing, but really just finish it off. We're so close, and I believe in my teammates. I believe in this new team, Team 144, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to take a bunch of work, blood, sweat, and tears, but I'm ready to run it back. I'm ready to continue to be in the community, and there's pros to it. I'm gonna get my degree, and I'm gonna leave my legacy.
So let's.
Come on! Thanks to the Rich Eisen show for that audio. Wow! Look at that. I am going to get right to the tail end here and see what the people have to say about. I'm just going to find the moment that he made his announcement. I think I have found it. I see a lot of people that are really excited about it. And here's how it played out. Jambi, he is back. And you did tell us that he was coming back. And it was pretty exciting to hear Blake Corum. Like I do this. I don't know how often that I guess I don't need it saying the Rich Eisen. I want to thank the Rich Eisen Show and Sirius XM for allowing us to play that audio from Blake Corum. Outstanding. It is it's a great day for Michigan fans. There's no doubt about that. I just want to pause for a second to say, you consider out, like, if Blake Corum would have made a decision to say, look, I'm going pro, I think you would, sit back and say, you understand, that he's going to fulfill his dream. He had a great Michigan career. Man, he seems like a great guy off the field, obviously, very talented player on the field. But if I was sitting around, like, I don't know if we had all of us and we said, how can we say it the best way? Here's what you want to say. Here's the way you want to say it. He said it that way. He gets an A+. Again, like, you could have said he's going pro. You give a thumbs up. Congratulations. Good luck to you. That he's decided to come back to Michigan. And for the way he said it, let's go through it a little bit, because guess what? I was able to record what Blake Corum had to say.
Yeah, it was a tough decision. A lot of nights, I was coming back. A lot of nights I was going to the draft. A lot of prayer. But I'm a Michigan man through and through. I love playing for the University of Michigan. I love going to the big house and just leaving it all on the field. I love the community. I love interacting with everyone, right? So this was a tough decision. It was a business decision. And I think, I have unfinished business. I didn't like the way I went out in the big house. I don't like people remember me being hurt. And so, I will be coming back for it all next year.
All right. Okay.
Coming back for it all.
Okay. So you are going to return to the University of Michigan in 2023 and play for the Michigan Wolverines. That is what you do.
I will be back at the University of Michigan, ready to excel and just do everything that we've been doing, but really just finish it off. We're so close, and I believe in my teammates. I believe in this new team, Team 144. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to take a bunch of work, blood, sweat, and tears. But, I'm ready to run it back. I'm ready to continue to be in the community. And, there's pros to it. I'm going to get my degree, and I'm going to leave my legacy.
So let's...
Oh, come on! Is that how I sounded at the end? Well, he's something else, saying it like that. I mean, Blake, you made a lot of Michigan fans very happy. I remember 30 years ago, Michigan had a running back named Tyrone Wheatley. And he said he was coming back, and there was a similar type enthusiasm for Michigan fans. Blake Corum has moved into the stratosphere of all. I mean, he's already there, but when you do something like this and you say it the way that he says it, well, you just put him up there with the best and having an opportunity here to do what he's doing. Let's see what some people are saying. Matt says it's not a coincidence that he's announcing on the night of the Natty. Steve now wants to see Jim Harbaugh on next with the Rich Eisen Show to say the same thing. Well, let's see. Maybe he's got
your big announcement here on this show. I'll hook the two of you guys up. This is going to happen.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
We're going to make this happen, Blake. That will absolutely happen.
He's still talking to Blake.
So before I let you go,
one last thing from Blake. Rich Eisen Show.
Opinion: you saw TCU in person.
Yeah.
I did as well, unfortunately. But the way that we saw it all play out, what do you think happens this evening for the national championship game?
I think it's going to be two tough teams.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be a very, very strong first half. And then after halftime, I believe Georgia will take it away. But if Georgia makes mistakes and TCU can capitalize, it will be a barn burner.
I guess once he gets done with his Michigan career of winning, let's just say what the goals are right now. If last year's goal was to beat Michigan State, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten, and win the national championship, I think those 4 goals, Blake said it himself, let's run it back. I think all of those goals right there are right out in front of Michigan. And, that's what the expectation is going to be. Those are the goals for everyone. The Michigan can win it all. That's how you're feeling on the day of the national championship with the announcement that Blake Corum is coming back. When Blake Corum is done, however, next year ends up working out for him, and then he goes to the NFL, and I'll give him a 12-year. Hey, if he can play longer, bless you. He plays a 12-year NFL lengthy career. When he is done, so what are we talking about? 13 years from now, in 2035, I could see Blake Corum seamlessly transitioning to the broadcast booth. When you listen to that guy talk, I was going to say, he could be a politician. Hopefully he stays out of that arena. Stay in sports, Blake. But whatever you want to do. And he's everything that you want. Vince asking the question, and that I don't have the answer for. Does Corum's announcement also indicate that Harbaugh is staying? I can't answer that, Vince. I don't want to bring anybody down. I don't. So I think it's best that I don't. I think it's best that I don't answer it. Jason, I was thinking of you when Blake said he was praying on it. How could you not? That's what Jason was saying earlier. I wish Blake all the very best. Fred, let's just keep it going right into the national championship game. Let's do it, man. Andres thinks that I am off on the broadcast. I'm biased about broadcasting. Vince says I know everything, and I don't know. Here's what Andres was saying. He's going to coach. Could. Sometimes the great players don't make great coaches. In fact, more often it's the guy that wasn't the starter. It was the guy that toiled and worked and had to be behind the scenes, and they're the ones that make the great coaches. But I don't know, Jim Harbaugh was a really good player, and he's turned out to be a pretty good coach. But I think about, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, the guys that are in the NFL right now, NFL coaches. I know did Nick Saban, was he at Kent? What kind of player was he? Kirby Smart? I don't know. Kirby Smart looks like, I don't know. Is he a football player? He's ex-Wild on the sideline. Here's my Kirby Smart. It's my impersonation, and it's not him talking. It's just him acting crazy on the sideline. So there you go. I'll read some more. Hassler. I talked about Wheatley, and Hassler said he was amazing. Bianca Patuca had the best single game I've ever seen, but Blake just take things to another level in all respects. Yeah, he does. Woo, look at, normally I would cast this line of thinking aside and tell you that, you wouldn't want to wish this on your worst enemy. And yet, this is the kind of feeling where you're at right now, CJ, who says he hopes the Lions draft Corum when he goes after next year. And I got to say that I feel you. After the success that Aidan Huntchinson has enjoyed, with after how things are going with the Lions, I've been through many off seasons, and I was even tempted for a minute to tell Lions fans to tap the brakes and let's wait till they win a playoff game or win the division and get a home game of a home field, win the division, so then you can have a home game of the playoffs before you start, acting like the Lions are so great. But you know what? I don't need to do that. Lion fans like the offseason to have fun and look forward to their team. And the way that this thing wrapped up, while I don't believe much in springboarding, I watched that game last night and just the feeling. I remember how I felt on Thanksgiving and how much I enjoyed the game right up until they lost it. And then thinking, it's a very enjoyable game. I'm enjoying the Detroit Lions. I don't know when the last time I said that. There's no reason for me. I remember in 14 or 15, whenever Adama Sue left, Lions had a number one defense. Number one against the run. They were top 5 overall defense. And they replaced Sue with Haloti Ngata on their defense as a free agent. They brought back all of their other starters. And in the draft, they went with an offensive lineman and a running back. They moved up, got Amir Abdullah. I didn't let them to take that. Whatever, that didn't matter. But so it looked like they, were in position. Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson. I thought, and I predicted that the Lions would win the North. And that they would win at Green Bay, and they would have their first home. They would win the division for the first time, and at that point it was 25 years, and that they would, go to the playoffs, and they would have a home game. It didn't happen. I think they started 1-7 that year, fired everybody. So it's happened before. I wonder if Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson, if they're going to be calling hook and laterals and fakes when the games count. Because these first 2 years, it's been a lot of, let's just go for it. What the hell? Hell with it. Let's just do whatever. And, there were a lot of mixed results. But then in these last 8 games, it was like, woo, fakes and laterals and throw it anywhere. Woo. It's just, and when it counts, will they be able to do all that? I'm going to enjoy it. And just like I'm enjoying the news that Blake Corum is coming back. Look at this. Now a first-round pick. What famous players have returned from his same injury? Well, he hurt his knee. Tons. I don't know. Adrian Peterson. And what running back hasn't, ripped up his knee pretty good? There's a lot of them. And here's the thing about Blake and his injury. He'll come back, and we'll see how he does. He doesn't have to be ready for the first game against East Carolina. They don't need him against UNLV or Bowling Green, Michigan. They've got their first 3 games very similar to the 3 games this year. They're walkthroughs. Michigan, I don't know, Rutgers, that's at the end of September. I don't know what the timeline looks like. Maybe he talked about the timeline in that interview. I'll go back and listen to that. But there's a lot of backs, and I know it wasn't just an ACL. He had a couple things going on there, but I don't know. He did say that right there at the beginning, where just listening to it, that he felt pretty good and was already, working out, or whatever else. So I don't know if he gave an estimated time that he's going to come back or not. So we'll see on that. Here's the thing about Blake Corum. If it doesn't work out in football, you say, oh, man, he could have cashed in. I don't know. Could he have cashed in? Was he going in the second round this year? Was he going in the third round? Because if he wasn't going in the second or third round, and I don't know, I think that he will make as much money at Michigan next year through name, image, and likeness as he would make if he wasn't a second or third round pick in the NFL draft. And so being able to come back, and if he's able to demonstrate that he's the player that he was before the injury, he'll be a second or third round pick next year. He may have what is it? It's not having your cake and eating it too. He'll have the best of both worlds. He will get better. He will make money in the meantime, and then he will make more money when he goes back, and it'll work out great for him. Like Blake Corum doesn't need to play another down of football. And I think that he would be, I don't know, I start saying set financially, you know, like you get a degree from Michigan, you get a couple million in your back pocket. I don't know. The way the kid talks, humble beginnings. Like he's going to make 10, 20, who knows? That guy's going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't need to play another down of football. And he's already a multimillionaire with a Michigan. That's a really good start. And then just based on listening to him for any amount of time, you know that this guy's going to be a success in whatever he does. Are you kidding me? Listen to some of this.
It was a tough decision. A lot of nights, you know, I was coming back. A lot of nights I was going to the draft. A lot of prayer. But you know, I'm a Michigan man through and through. You know, I love playing for the University of Michigan. I love going to the big house and just leaving it all on the field. I love the community. I love interacting with everyone, right? So this was a tough decision. It was a business decision. And I think, you know, I have unfinished business. I didn't like the way I went out in the big house. I don't like people remember me being hurt. And so, you know, I will be coming back for it all next year.
All right. Okay.
Coming back for it all.
Okay. So you are going to return to the University of Michigan in 2023 and play for the Michigan Wolverines. That is what you're doing.
I will be back at the University of Michigan, ready to excel and just do everything that we've been doing, but really just finish it off. You know, we're so close, and I believe in my teammates. I believe in this new team, Team 144. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to take a bunch of work, you know, blood, sweat, and tears. But, you know, I'm ready to run it back. I'm ready to continue to be in the community. And, you know, there's pros to it. You know, I'm going to get my degree, and I'm going to leave my legacy.
So let's
come on. He's going to leave his legacy. Blake Corum's going to leave his legacy. This is the longest that I've ever done one of these shows, but for good reason. With Blake Corum saying he's going to come back. I put this little picture up there. And the reason for that is it was his game logs while he played at Michigan. Let's just go through some of those for a minute, if you don't mind. I mean, let's just see some of these games that jump out for Blake Corum at Michigan. Or we'll just look at a blank screen. No, there we go. There's the 2020 season. Do you remember on Halloween night when Michigan lost to Michigan State during the pandemic that Blake Corum scored 2 touchdowns? His first ever. There's a little Blake Corum trivia for you. 5 rushes, 15 yards, 2 touchdowns in a loss against Michigan State during the pandemic. I don't remember that myself, but there you go. Last year, Blake Corum had 100 yards in his first 3 games. You know that first game against Western, that was when Ronnie Bell had a touchdown and got hurt. JJ threw to Baldwin and had that 69-yarder across the field. Henning had a 74-yard TD around, and Corum had a 79-yard kickoff in that opener against Western. I mentioned Michigan host Rutgers. Remember 2 years ago, that was a tough game. Michigan, I don't think they scored in the second half. They hung on and beat Rutgers, but just 68 yards for Corum in that game. Wisconsin was a game that everybody had picked Michigan to lose. Corum didn't have a great day. Wisconsin had the number 1 rush defense in the country, just 46 yards. remember at Nebraska, that's when he was doing the Corum. He acted like he was chewing some corn. Had a couple touchdowns against Northwestern. Did not play well. He dropped the pass. I was going to say he didn't play all that well. He got hurt, I think, against the Spartans in that loss up in East Lansing last year. Came back, only had a carry against Indiana. In the game where Haskins had 5 touchdowns, Corum still had 87 yards. And he also had one of the most important carries. It was in the second half, first series, when he just took off. I don't know what he had, like a 50-yard run there. It was one of the best runs. He also had a big run in the Big Ten championship game against Iowa. Did not fare well against Georgia, just 3 carries for 13 yards. This year was a Heisman Trophy type season, as we all know, for Blake Corum, as he ripped through opponents and ended up getting in the end zone early and often. 5 touchdowns against UConn. He could have had as many yards as he wanted against Colorado State in Hawaii, but, Did you remember that Blake Corum had 243 yards against Maryland? 243. What about Iowa? They've got a real tough defense. 133 in a score. 124 against Indiana. 166 against Penn State. That's when he started teaming up with Donovan Edwards. These guys, they became a fantastic duo. 177 against the Spartans. Right after the game, said, we're on to Rutgers. 109 against Rutgers. 162 against Nebraska. Everybody's saying, man, this guy could win the Heisman. Illinois, 108 yards and a touchdown. Had a catch of that one for 39 yards, too. Remember that down at the goal line? And then he got hurt. Remember him coming back in the second half. And just had the 2 carries against Ohio State. That sucked for him because I think that he would have run for, 150 against Ohio State. Who knows? Donovan Edwards ran for 216 yards. If Blake Corum runs for 200 yards against Ohio State this year, does that win him the Heisman? Considering that Caleb Williams wasn't all that hot in his particular game, or it was at the end, taking it to the Big Ten championship game. But yeah, he would have been in the mix. But I think Michigan would have beat TCU, and they would be playing tonight. But outstanding news for the Wolverines. They're able to get Blake Corum. He announces he's coming back. You're ecstatic. We'll see. We'll see if Jim Harbaugh is able to follow in his junior running back's steps and follows him back to Ann Arbor. And Michigan is right back in the thick of things next year. Todd Gurley had same injuries, meniscus, never heals, but yeah, hey, look, man, things like just a few years ago, guys would get hurt and you'd say, oh, man, these guys now, I don't know. They come back from almost everything. I know. Me telling you that, he's going to come back and be 100%, he'll be as good. You see it with some guys, they come back and you would never know it. Take a couple games. Michigan has a luxury of not only having a manageable schedule at the beginning of the year, but they also have a great back with him. When you think about recruiting, would I rather have a 5, whoever the number 1 running back in the country was this year, would I rather have him coming in, or would I rather have Blake Corum? Blake Corum. Michigan just got the 5-star running back to return. This is the kind of stuff that dreams are made of if you're a Michigan fan. So remember that when and I'll do the same thing when I'm talking about recruiting. Like, wow, Michigan's recruiting. Getting Blake Corum back teaming them up with Donovan Edwards and J.J. McCarthy. I'd say, people want to be in Michigan. Pretty good place to be. They're doing pretty good. All right. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll react more to the Corum news. Until then, everybody have a great day. And thanks for watching. Thanks to Rich Eisen for the audio. It was a special audio. Good job, Rich. So long.